was the idea of being parents ever like present, or it just came like?
I think that came with the conversations as well, right? Like as any couple, at some point or another, you're going to have that conversation whether or not you want to have kids. And for us, we start having that conversation, roughly around 2010 or so. And one of the factors that came into play for us at the time, we both had a pretty good career. We were both very stable and knew that we could deal with it. But second is that my parents are a bit older than his, and if I was going to have a kid, I wanted to make sure that the relationship that he would have or she would have at the time, we didn't know, with the grandparents would be an active one. I wanted my parents to have a very active
to live and to enjoy
their do stuff with him, that they could, and that's sort of like, okay, well, we should do it sooner rather than later. And so we started the process then, and no regrets. I mean, I grew up having a great relationships with my grandparents, going on trips and doing all kinds of activities with them. And so we were able to reproduce that, if you want. Like they went to Disney World, we went to Cape Cod and so things like that, and great little field trips as well around in the Laurentians and Quebec City and all that. So
how was the process, Alex? Was it simple,
that's where it differs between Quebec and Ontario. So at the time, I would have to check. I'm not sure where the laws are right now in Quebec, but Ontario did a shift at some point on adoption processes. And the way that it works is that until the kid is what they call crown ward, the child remains in foster care. When the child is crown ward, that means that the state has the ownership of the child, if you want, and that the parents, the bio parents, don't have any recourse at that point. Then the child goes for adoption. And what the state sort of figured out at some point is that the stability of the child was more important than just the biological link between the parents and the child. Mm-hmm. And so having the child in a stable home with caring parents, going to school, doing and getting to know the community where they belong, that was more important than just being connected to the parent in a biological way.
How was it different in Quebec?
So Quebec, and again, back in those days, Quebec parents, biological parents, would have up to 5 years to come and reclaim their child, even after being adopted. Wow. If somehow they, let's say the child was taken away from them for some reason, if they managed to turn their life around, they would then have a possibility to claim the child back. That's hard as a parent when you're doing that, right? Even as an adoptive parent, it's hard for a parent to let go of their child, right? Like either way, it's hard for the bio parent to let go of the child to go to adoption, I'm sure. And as an adoptive parent, losing your child after a few years of being together, that would be heart-wrenching. So
for sure. Was there ever any issue with the fact that the adoptive parents were gay?
No, in fact, it was kind of funny because there was two things. One is there's a program that they have before you can adopt. You have to have sort of a parental class, and I forget what all the acronyms are for, but when you put them together, it's called PRIDE, and it had nothing to do with LGBTQ2 plus groups. It was just the way that the program was called. But and I think we were the only gay couple in our class when we did it. but absolutely no qualms there. Everything worked out perfectly for us that way. And the other thing was that the bio mom of our son was somewhat involved in the selection process
Oh,
of the
okay, interesting.
parents. And I think the way that they did it is that they would have selected a few parents that they would have approved, and then she could have picked between those selections.
Oh.
And she picked us. So,
And can I ask you a question, Alex? Is the mom like still like involved in your child's life? Is she still present? Does your kid get to see her?
Well, we haven't seen her in some time, but there is in Ontario, again, through the same. This is all done through the Child Aid Services of Ottawa. So, and the process there, they encourage what they call openness adoption.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a process where you can keep in touch. It could be anything from, just sending a letter with pictures, once a year or twice a year, whatever, or to have meetings. And so we opted for the meeting portion. So usually it's in the spring and in the fall. And we would have selected a common ground place like a park or a restaurant or something like that, like McDonald's, whatever, where we would go and meet with his mom, and we would spend a bit of time together. It doesn't have to be much, like maybe a couple of hours. So you would get at least to know her that way. But then she moved to Edmonton. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. She comes back into town once in a while, and she'll be in touch, and then we'll try to make a meet happen, or we'll do. I'll get an email and asking for an update, and I'll tell her what we're up to and send her a couple of pictures and things like that.
Do you find that strange at all, Alex? I mean, and again, I don't understand how, the whole world of adoption works. I thought that the kids were like really left without parents at all. And, the system was then responsible to find a family to put them in. But the way that you're describing it is as if the mom is, fully aware that, she didn't want the kid, but she wants to stay kind of part of somehow his life. Or
you have to be careful about the word want or didn't want, right?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with public adoptions, a lot of times the kids come from families where there was trouble.
Right.
So in our case, we were lucky. Our kid, his parents were just too young when they got pregnant. And with no real social safety net to help them through it. Right. And so the state saw it fit that would be the best solution for the kid at the time. Like the parents were couch surfing, they didn't have a regular home and things like that. And so, and again, that's the version that we got from the state. So that's what I can give back as a response. But was it their choice? Did they really want to not keep the kid? I don't think so. I think that it was a hard decision that they had to make because of the situations that they were in. And so, we're lucky. We benefited from that. And we like to think that our kid is lucky and he benefited from that as well, because we're giving him a loving home and a place where he can grow and learn and be part of society. But I'm not a guru in that kind of stuff, so I cannot second guess everything that was done by the state at the time. But this is just where we are. So that's why keeping the connection with her has been very helpful, because we can get to know her a little bit more. We know how she feels about it, and so far the relationship is pretty good.